From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
My dad owns Davis Excavating. They do dirt work, site prep, septic systems, underground utilities, drainage, and land clearing. Before anything gets built, my dad and his crew get the ground ready. They work really hard and do the job right. So if you're ready to build, my dad's ready to dig. Call my dad at Davis Excavating.
Well, happy Tuesday morning to you. Let's start off with a beautiful shot here. This is a sunflower, the sunflower garden from Tracy Sackett in MacArthur, and it looks like a spider is enjoying that sunflower as well. You know, Tracy shared this photo from the free Weather NorCal app, and you can do the same. If you want to see it right here in the morning update or even on live on Coffee with Krueger, all you got to do is share it from the free Weather NorCal app. Check it out. Let's get you out the door this morning for your Tuesday, August 11th, and looking at your Krueger's Quick Cast. So for this morning, there's still going to be some patchy smoke and some haze out there, and even some fog along the coast. Temperatures are still going to be on the mild side, especially in the valley with temperatures in the low 70s. High pressure is beginning to break down, and that's why our temperatures are starting to drop. It was still fairly hot yesterday, right? But we were able to see those temperatures to start to drop. And I think many of us in the valley today are going to struggle to get out of the 90s. Yes, triple digits are going to become few and far between here for today. Now, let's take a look at Futurecast because, yes, we are seeing some of that fog in the morning, and there will be some clearing through the afternoon, but probably seeing that fog return later this evening and tonight. And if you have a swamp cooler, with the cooler temperatures and still very dry conditions, the swamp cooler is going to continue to give us a cooler output. Or the cooler output will be 76 degrees, but cooler than what we've seen here over the last week. So it's going to have an easier time keeping up with those daytime highs and helping to keep you cool in your house. All right, let's take a look at those temperatures today. Yeah, the north end of the valley, places like Redding, Anderson, Cottonwood, yeah, around 100 degrees, right? But then we're talking mid to upper 90s for the rest of the valley. 80s and 90s in the mountains and in the mid 60s for the coast. Now for tonight, temperatures are starting to drop here as well. So we're talking mid 60s for the valley, 40s and 50s for the mountains, and low to mid 50s for the coast. So looking at your 7-day outlook, yeah, temperatures are dropping. Upper 80s, low 90s. That's right, as we go into the end of this week, through the weekend, and even into next week. This cooler weather, it's going to stick around for a while, folks. Take a look at those low to mid 60s for the valley, for the coast. For the inland area, still a bit smoky, especially around, say, northern hump, basically near the MP18 fire, right? But otherwise, just kind of that haze and smoke out there. Temperatures dropping really pretty much across the board, right? Now, you'll also notice I've included a chance for showers and thunderstorms for places like Susanville, Eastern Mountains. We're seeing an influx of monsoonal moisture working its way up. The problem is how much of that, and will there be enough instability to produce some showers and thunderstorms? That's kind of where we are right now, because there are indications that places like even Modoc County, even Siskiyou County could see that potential later on this week as well. But that's one of those stay tuned type of situations, right? Let's take a look at the fire weather outlook, and we're going to start off with just taking a look at the overall broad perspective of where the fires are in Northern California. And the main one that we're really tracking here is the MP18 fire. Now, latest report coming in is at just over 1,500 acres. You can see where there are evacuation warnings. That means be ready to go, but an order means you got to be out of there. We don't have any orders out there. We just have that evacuation warnings for all of the different areas, basically just north of Hoopa. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the latest recent activity from the fire, and those orange colors indicating over the last 24 hours. So there has been some recent activity associated with the fire. You can see some of the distance the fire is from a couple of communities, like 4.3 miles from Hoopa, for example. Now, another fairly large fire we got our eyes on is the bug fire. And this one is mainly impacting our neighbors to the east in Nevada, but 15,000 acres at about 3% containment. Now, as mentioned, there will be some smoke, especially around the vicinity of the fires themselves, especially around Hoopa. I think you'll see those smoky skies, but elsewhere, just kind of some of the haze. But a lot of that haze will probably clear out once we kind of see that here through the morning hours. And then there you can see Tuesday evening, another little plume of smoke pushing itself eastward from the MP18 fire, working its way into northern Trinity County. Now, the fire weather outlook, the highest or the elevated fire weather risk is to the east here for both today and tomorrow. But bottom line, we've got elevated fire weather risk pretty much across the board, minus the coast. Now, the good news is we don't expect any major wind events for today, for your Wednesday. Yeah, sure, we'll see those gusts upwards of around 20, maybe even 25 miles per hour in some areas. But overall, nothing as far as big time winds heading your way anytime soon. So what does that mean for our fire weather risk? Well, we're talking about yellows and oranges indicating the moderate to high fire weather risk for today and tomorrow. Humidity levels are still going to be in the single digits and low teens for many of you in the valley and in some of the higher elevations. But the good news is, remember I was talking about that little bit of an influx of that monsoonal moisture. That's going to possibly increase the humidity levels, and as a result, that will decrease our fire weather risk. You're noticing mainly just greens and yellows on the map for your Thursday and Friday. But again, remember, when we reintroduce that monsoonal moisture, now we run the risk of seeing potential for lightning strikes. Now, I think this might be overdoing it, but I just wanted to mention to you that it's on our radar and something that we're watching very closely with the potential for lightning strikes starting as early as Wednesday, but I think the better chances will probably be sometime around Thursday and even into Friday. Now, there is a lot going on with the fire weather data, right? The fires and the containment, the evacuation warnings and orders. There's a lot going on, and with all of that going on, it changes rapidly. So I can give you an update, you can watch this recorded update, and then suddenly things change. That's why I encourage you to go to weathernorcal.com, then click on the fire danger section. It's a one-stop shop, folks. I put together all the different resources that are most useful to you, and you can use those at your best in any time, really, anytime during the day. Just go to weathernorcal.com, which you can do it from your phone as well. All right, let's get into that deeper dive forecast for your Tuesday, August 11th. Temperatures are starting to drop. You may have already noticed it yesterday. I mean, it dropped down. I mean, it was hot, right? Reading still saw a high of 104 degrees, but at least it's not the 109. And we're going to be looking at temperatures in the low 90s, upper 80s, low 90s by Thursday and through the weekend, and most likely keeping it this way through all of next week. So once we cool things down, they're going to stay there for a while. But we're also talking about the potential for mountain thunderstorms. Now, it's not only late this week, but we're talking about the potential for early next week as well. We'll get into that here in just a bit. But there you can see the big picture. This is the monsoonal moisture, the flow around that area of high pressure. It's making its way into Southern California, but you'll also notice, see the clouds right here? That is the monsoonal moisture working its way towards the Lake Tahoe region and trying to work its way into parts of the eastern mountains, Lassen County, Plumas County, for example. Now, the European forecast model has backed off a little bit, as you can see Wednesday. Look where most of the thunderstorms are, Nevada, just south of Lake Tahoe. It is trying to pick up on a little bit here for some of the mountains here locally, especially out towards, say, Lassen, Plumas counties, and even parts of Siskiyou County as well. There it is, Friday, right? You see that potential right there, but most of it's off to the east. But we've got to really watch and monitor that potential. Now, another thing we've got to watch is this area of low pressure right here, because by around Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, we're looking at this right here potentially bringing us another round of showers and thunderstorms, and maybe even a better chance there, because now not only may the moisture still be in place, but with an area of low pressure, that really helps to destabilize the atmosphere. See, you can have all the moisture you want in the world, right? But if you have a mechanism area of low pressure, for example, or a cold front that pushes through, that can really help to squeeze out that moisture. Sure, you can get that what we call afternoon convection, and that is another factor, but if you can really include something that's going to help to destabilize the atmosphere even more, that gives you better chances for those showers and thunderstorms, those mechanisms, if you will. All right, so let's take a look at our in-house forecast model just to show you that it is picking up on some of that potential. Now, here's Wednesday. Now you'll notice Wednesday, you see what's happening? We're at least beginning to see more of those afternoon clouds begin to develop. This is a sign that the moisture is in place, right? But is there going to be enough instability for thunderstorms? It's a possibility, folks. It's a possibility. Here you can see as we go into Thursday, right? You're talking about places like Siskiyou County and even some of those clouds off to the east as well. And that's the case again on Friday. You see how it's picking up. Now it's really picking up on more thunderstorms, especially in Oregon. But yeah, you see that out towards Siskiyou County, but we still can't rule out a little bit of convective activity off to the east as well. So that's something we're watching closely. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the temperatures, because the ridge of high pressure that's been in place, it's breaking apart. So we now have a ridge of high pressure over the desert Southwest and another one over the eastern Pacific. You see how they're just kind of spreading, and this one's heading westward, this one's heading eastward. And the reason being is, you see this? This is a trough of low pressure. It's got cooler air associated with it. This will allow our temperatures to start to drop. Now, this is that area of low pressure that will dive down to the south. This will prevent this heat from really expanding too far into our region. And then it will kind of shift off to the north and east. This is that mechanism I was talking about that could bring us a better potential for showers and thunderstorms next Tuesday and Wednesday. And then that scoots off to the north and east by the time we get towards the end of next week. Temperatures, though, staying fairly mild, at least for this time of the year. The heat still way off to our east. This area of high pressure way off to our west. And we are left with dry conditions and below normal temperatures. But that hasn't been the case through the first 2 weeks of, or at least the first 10 days of August, right? Temperatures so far for the month of August, for the first 10 days, have been anywhere from 104 to upwards of 109 degrees. So it was definitely quite a hot start to the month of August. But we're going to start seeing not only near average, but even below average temperatures when we start looking at this map later on in the week, because we're starting to see a nice dip in our temperatures. Look at this. We're talking 100 today still for Reading. All right, so barely, right? Still about 98 on Wednesday, but look at Thursday, Friday through the weekend, and even through next week. We're talking low 90s, and yeah, a little bit of a spike in our temperatures near the middle and latter part of next week, but low 90s. And places like Chico, by the way, you're talking probably some upper 80s for your daytime highs. Yeah. All right, we'll take it, right? Take a look at the lake levels. Yeah, they're dropping, but again, nothing unusual. 97% of your historical average for Shasta Lake, and still over 100% for Trinity and Lake Oroville as well. Still have that coastal flood advisory. That is for 10 o'clock tonight through 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. The main concern here is going to be the high astronomical tides that we're seeing here. And those high astronomical tides could create some localized flooding, especially around those low-lying areas, the typical areas that you're used to, and around the Humboldt Bay as well. There you can see those wave heights are still going to remain fairly high. Now, this is a bit of a concern if you need to be on a small boat, as there is a small craft advisory. We mentioned it yesterday, and it will be all the way through Thursday. As a matter of fact, the winds fairly strong out of the north at about 15 to 20 knots. So here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. Still a fairly warm day. I think mainly 90s though in Trinity County. Some of the warmer spots could touch that 100-degree mark. Still some smoke and haze out there, and especially for the north end of Trinity County. Of course, that's where that smoke plumes are kind of pushing eastward, and that's where most of that smoke will end up. We take a look at the north coast, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s on average. We take you up to the north and really into the inland areas as well. We're calling it smoky, and I'm saying smoky mainly for places like Hoopa, But outside of that, it's pretty confined in a small area where that bigger plume of smoke will be. So places like Garberville, for example, Willow Creek, you probably won't see as much smoke out of this over the next couple of days. Siskiyou County, you may see some haze, a little bit of smoke as well, but otherwise, look at these temperatures. Yeah, they are starting to drop, upper 80s to low 90s, low to even some mid 90s for Modoc County today, so still fairly warm. The smoke you're seeing here is not from the MP18 fire, but from the fires in southern Oregon, working its way southward, so you will see some of that smoke and haze over the next few days as well. Off in the eastern mountains, temperatures here should be in the low to mid 90s, although cooler spots like Viola at about 82, 90 for Paradise, and 85 degrees in Mineral. Here's a look at your valley neighborhood forecast to the south. Yeah, look at this. No more triple digits, at least for the south end of the valley, with about 93 degrees for Hamilton City, 96 in Chico. Here's your 7-day forecast for Chico. I got a little button happy there. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take you back a map here. There you go. There's your 7-day forecast for Chico. Yeah, we're down to the upper 80s, folks, by Thursday. And look at that. The upper 80s are sticking around. Not only into Monday of next week, but most likely through a good portion of next week. Now, up to the north, yeah, it's still a little bit warmer, but not bad, right? The normal high for the valley is 99 degrees, and we're going to be right around that or just slightly above that here with 100 in Redding. All right, so let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for Redding. Temperatures upper 90s Wednesday and upper 80s for Chico, right? Redding a little bit warmer, but that's normal, that's typical. Low 90s, between 90 and 92 for Thursday through Monday of next week, and that's going to extend well into next week. All right, that's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for the latest check of your weather. Have a great morning.